You know how sometimes you hear, like, a totally normal phrase, but you just know there's more to it? You get the meaning, sure, but you feel there's a backstory. hmm Well, that's what we're really digging into today. We've pulled together some interesting little details about everyday English.
It's not just about definitions. We want to get into the why.
Yeah.
Where do these expressions come from? How can we actually remember them better?
Right. So today we're tackling four specific ones. We've got two phrasal verbs, back out and chip in.
And then there's that great idiom, fly off the handle. Very visual.
It really is.
Yeah,
And finally, a slightly more maybe formal word, superfluous.
that's the one. The goal is really to appreciate the subtle power in the words we use all the time.
Okay, perfect. Let's start with back out. I mean, we all kind of get it, right? Someone agreed to something and then, well, they changed their mind. But what's the core meaning?
Yeah, essentially, back out means to withdraw, to pull out of a commitment or an agreement you'd previously made.
Right, you're expected to be there or
Yeah.
do something and then, nope.
Exactly. You remove
The
yourself.
example we looked at was Jenna agreeing to dinner but then backing out. Happens all the time.
Oh, absolutely. We've all experienced that one way or another.
So where does that phrasing come from? Back out. It sounds so physical.
It is. That's precisely the origin. It's rooted in the literal physical action of stepping backward or moving away from something, creating distance.
Ah, okay. Like you're literally backing away from the commitment.
That's the core image, yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. It's quite direct. So if we want to like lock this in our memory, what's a good mental trick?
Well, the image of someone physically taking steps back is pretty strong. Stepping away from a group, maybe,
Mm.
or think of a car reversing. Backing out of a parking spot, maybe? That retreat.
Ooh, the car reversing. I like that.
Yeah.
It's such a clear action of, not going forward with it anymore, going the other way.
Exactly. It captures that reversal.
Okay. And if we didn't want to say back out, what are some alternatives? Synonyms,
You could say someone chose to withdraw. That's quite common.
right?
Or maybe retract their agreement. If it's more formal or maybe a bit more serious, you might even say they reneged.
Renege. Okay. That one sounds a bit stronger.
It can imply breaking a promise, yeah.
Hmm.
But they all have that core idea of not following through.
Got it. So back out, pulling away from a commitment.
Mm.
Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk about something a bit more energetic. Fly off the handle.
Yes, definitely more energetic. It means basically to suddenly lose your temper, a really uncontrolled burst of anger.
Yeah, you can almost picture it. The example was Mark, who flew off the handle about a delay.
We've all seen that, I'm sure. Or maybe even done it.
Maybe. So the phrase itself, fly off the handle, it's so specific. Where on earth does that come from? Handles don't usually fly.
Well, they sometimes did. This one goes back to 19th century America. Think about tools, specifically an axe.
An axe, okay.
Yeah. If the axe head wasn't fixed securely onto the wooden handle, a really hard swing could actually cause the head to detach, to literally fly off the handle.
Whoa. Seriously.
Seriously. And obviously that's sudden, unexpected, and pretty dangerous.
Wow. Okay. That image is powerful. A heavy axe head suddenly flying free. I can totally see the connection to sudden, uncontrolled anger now. That's wild.
Isn't it? It perfectly captures that sense of something breaking loose unpredictably.
It really does. So for remembering this one, what works?
Well, the axe head image itself is pretty memorable, I think.
Definitely.
You could also just picture someone's composure, like shattering, breaking apart suddenly. Or maybe think of someone you know who tends to have those sudden bursts. Their anger just
Sure.
flies off.
Yeah, linking it to a person or that core image makes sense. And other ways to say it, besides fly off the handle.
Oh, sure. You could say someone lost their temper, obviously, or blew a fuse. That's in the...
Blow a fuse, right?
Yeah.
Or hit the roof.
Exactly. All convey that sudden explosion of anger.
Okay. So we've gone from backing away to exploding. Let's move to something more collaborative now. Chip in.
Ah, yes. Chip in. This means contributing something, usually money, but it could be effort or resources too, as part of a group.
Right. Everyone puts a little something towards a common goal.
Precisely. Pooling resources together.
Very common for like office birthday gifts or splitting a bill. The example was people chipping in for Sarah's present.
A classic scenario.
Right.
It's just how groups often handle shared costs or efforts.
But again, why chip? Where does the chip part come from?
This one's fun. It comes from gambling. Specifically, poker.
Poker, really?
Yep. In poker, players add their betting chips to the central pot. They chip in their contribution to the game.
Ah, okay, so the chips are literal poker chips originally.
That's the idea. And that action, contributing your bit to the common pot, just spread out into general language for any kind of collective contribution.
That's fascinating. I never made that connection. So the mental picture is literally people adding their chips to a pile.
Exactly. Visualizing people putting actual chips or coins or even just effort into a central pot or towards a goal. That works well.
Or maybe thinking about times you've actually done it, like chipping in for pizza with friends.
Yes. Connecting it to your own experience is always powerful, remembering those moments when everyone pitched in their share.
Pitched in. Is that a synonym then?
It is. Very similar meaning. You could also just say contribute. Or, depending on the situation, maybe donate if it's for charity.
Okay. Contribute, pitch in, donate. All about adding your part to the whole. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last one for today. This word feels a bit different. Superfluous. It sounds more academic, maybe?
It can sound a bit formal, yeah. Superfluous basically means unnecessary, more than what's actually needed or required. Excessive.
So something extra that doesn't really add anything useful.
Exactly. It implies a kind of surplus that's not beneficial. Think about being concise. Superfluous is the opposite of that.
The example sentence was, his explanation was superfluous because everyone already got it.
A perfect example. We've probably all sat through a superfluous explanation at some point.
Definitely. So it's a Latin root, I'm guessing.
You guessed right. It came into English from the Latin word superfluous. Super, meaning over, and fluous, relating to flow.
Overflow.
Literally, overflowing or extra. That's the direct meaning from Latin.
Wow. Overflowing. That's such a clear image for something being too much. How can we use that to remember it?
That image itself is great. Picture a glass being filled with water and it starts spilling over the top. That extra spilling water is superfluous.
Okay, I like that visual, the overflowing cup.
Or you can just break the word down, like we just did.
Right.
Super means over. Think superior, supersonic. And fluous makes you think of fluid or flow. So superflow or overflow.
Overflow. Yeah, that breakdown really helps click it into place. Simple when you see it like that.
It often is. Etymology can be a great memory key.
And finally, synonyms for superfluous, if we wanted a different word.
You could use excessive or redundant. That's a good one, especially in writing or explanation.
Redundant, yeah.
Or just plain unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Simple and direct. Okay, fantastic. So we've covered back out, fly off the handle, chip in, and superfluous.
We have 4 really useful bits of English, each with its own little story.
It really shows how much is packed into the language we use every day without even thinking about it.
Absolutely. And, understanding these deeper layers, the origins and the nuances, it really does help. It makes your comprehension richer, and it gives you more tools for your own communication.
So the challenge now for everyone listening is to start noticing these. Hear them in conversation, see them when you're reading.
And even better, try using them. See if you can naturally slip chip in or superfluous into a conversation this week.
Yeah, actively using them is key. And maybe think about this as well. How does knowing the origin, the physical backing away, the flying axe head, the poker chips, the overflowing cup, how does that change how you understand English speakers or the culture behind the language?
That's a great point. Those little origin stories, they often reveal a lot about how people see the world, or at least how they saw it when the phrase was coined. It adds another layer, doesn't it?
It really does. Something to think about.